Hey, party people. How goes all of it? Happy Thursday. I think I'm a little under the weather, but kind of how it's been lately. So today, as promised, I'm going to go over from scratch how we built out the CGI poppies in 3ds Max, and then exported or rendered them actually for our images. It's going to be a little slow today, so sit tight. And I'm parenting and taking care of somebody else who's ill. So it's going to be quite the interactive kind of day. You'll have to let me know if you hear a kids' television show in the background, and I'll turn it down. All right. So without further ado, maybe a tiny little bit ado. We'll get started. Right. There we go. Alrighty. So first things first. I'll go to Bridge here, and let me get to my. Where I have this project at. My desktop here, Porsche tutorial. So here we go. So the first thing I need to look at, or that I would do, is basically open this shot. But what I want to do is I want to look at the focal length, right? 38 millimeter. It's really important for what we're going to do. I'm going to try and do 2 shots today. I think that's kind of stretching it with the parenting scenario, but hey, you never know. So, this is our image. What I had done, normally I don't really do anything to it in terms of adjustments. I'm going to reset what I did, just so you can see. There we go. No, reset. I know what'll happen. I'm going to close this out. Back to my bridge. Open up my shot. How's everybody doing today? Everybody doing good? I forgot how to get this to reset. There we go. Okay, so that was the thing. So obviously here we've got, got some highlight detail. I'm looking at my information here. Can you guys see? There we go. So we've got our information here. Got some shadow detail here. This is our highlight detail actually, and a bunch in our shadows. So I just kind of want to bring this over. So in order to do that, I'm basically going to take my shadows, open them up a tiny bit, bring down my highlights so I still have those. I usually like to bump up the saturation. The R5 is just a little desaturated in its capacity for some reason. Maybe that's just what real life looks like. I'm just going to kind of open this up to where I've got like just a happy medium of detail, just enough. We'll bring our highlights down here, open up our shadows. Enough. Like we'll bring this down. maybe, yeah. It's just enough to have information. And then we'll go to our image size here. And since I don't need to work at full size, I want to change this to 5,000 pixels across, which is basically what the head client had originally asked for. I believe this was going to web, so client for this one was Car and Driver magazine. So yeah, that's basically what I'll do. I'll save it as a JPEG, which I've already done, and then I'll bring that in. But what we need, basically, the main information I need here is the 38 millimeter, and that is going to be important because here we're going to go into our 3ds Max program. I'm just going to kind of make sure that you guys can see everything here. Here's so we're in 3ds Max. First thing we're going to do is apply this image to our background here. So I'm going to go to use files, file, pick my Porsche shot, open, apply to active view. There we go. This is important because I'm going to start bringing in a plane to drop the wild poppies into. I'll eventually push, a camera and the whole kind of the 9 yards here. So the next thing we're going to do is get the my render. So the render setup is there, but it's not on the camera setting. So we want to get a camera in here. We're going to go to our camera, V-Ray physical camera. I'm just going to pop this in here just to get this started. So this is our top view. Top will do like this. Get that lined up there. There's our left top view. We're going to make this. You can't see because there's a little glitch that doesn't allow me to change this to our camera 1 there. Now, this is getting dark, the render view, which is totally fine. And now we're going to set this up. So I want to go to V-Ray material. I want to do camera map per pixel. Plug that into our diffuse. You guys can barely see that. Plug that into our diffuse. I'm going to set our camera that we've just created here, our source. Click on that and then click on your camera. And I'm basically going to go to my bitmap here. General. Maps, V-Ray bitmap. We're going to choose our image. Open. I'm going to plug that into the texture. There we go. Now, one thing I'm going to need to do is drop my sun in here. I don't have any sun. I meant like the actual physical sun. And that's going to basically kind of mimic the lighting that we're going to have on our actual poppies. So the first thing I'm going to do is just kind of get a plane in here to match the surface, and then we'll figure out where the sun goes. I'm going to go to our primary or standard primitives here. This thing will let me. I'll just change my workspace. Whatever. I'm not touching it. You guys can still see what's going on, right? Let's see here. I messed it up a little bit. Guys. There we go. Gives you a little better. Now you're back in there. Okay, so we're going to go to our... We're doing car stuff, but what we're doing is we're dropping in... Welcome, Christina. Today we're dropping in CGI Flowers into this shot. What I did is I did a shoot for Car and Driver magazine where we took... shot this car in the Lancaster poppies, but there weren't the amount of poppies that we wanted where we wanted them. So what we had to do basically was then... it's funny, if you go to look at Instagram now, you'll see that the poppies are actually there. But while we were on location, I basically said, I'm just going to put CG poppies in here to make it look like we want the shot to look. So that's what we ended up doing, and today I'm going over how I did that exactly. We're going to go here to our standard primitives. This thing is not letting me. Hopefully this will... I'm going back to my old space. Should solve your guys' problem. There we go. So I'm going to go to our standard primitives here. I'm going to select a plane. I'm going to drop that plane into our top view. Back up. Our plane is going to end up being pretty big, about 100,000 meters. I'm going to drop that in there. This is our camera right here. There's our plane. It's showing up as a green box, which is fine. So we're going to go to our object settings. Where are we at? 400,000 here? That's about right. It just needs to be big. Now we're going to go to our camera. You see here. And I'm going to start bringing this camera up to try and match the plane, the POV of the ground, right? I'm going to move this. I'm clicking on the plane now. I forgot why it's showing up. Oh, you know what? Because we don't have our render set to. Go to view a camera run. There we go. Now we're at a render of our at the settings for our camera render here. Materials. All right, so we're going to just move this over. I just want to be able to get the line about centered. I'll take my camera and move that over. Lock that on there. I'm gonna lock my render settings there. Sorry. All right, taking the camera here. I just want to move it over so we're all lined up. Take this. Looking at top view there. Straighten it out. It just makes everything easier if it's all lined up. I'm going to go to our camera target. Line it up with the center of our plane. Now I'm going to go back to my camera view here and kind of find out where this plane that looks all right for now. I think once we get the sun in there, we'll have a better idea of where we want to be. All right, so now I'm going to, excuse me. Apologize for that. So we're going to add our, what are we going to add? Oh yeah, our sun. V-Ray, sun. I'm going to come here, I'm going to see the entire kind of world we've got going. And I'm going to put my sun. My sun's basically my shot. I'm going to click here. Oop. Reason this changed. There we go. Grab this here, bring it towards the camera. Our object's going to be. Now it's asking me if I want to plug the environment in. No, I want to keep this image as my sun. What we will do is when we do the render, we'll do a render with the background image in it and then a render without. There, now we'll take our sun, this is in our shot. Hold on 1 second, I gotta take somebody back here. There we go. We're gonna take our sun here. We're gonna move it down right where the sun is in the shot. If I look where my sun target is, I'll go to my left view here. We're going to bring this down and go fast camera. All right. Boo-boos have been assessed. Thanks for, bless you, I appreciate it. All right. We're going to bring this over here. I want to get it to be kind of at camera. I'm going to lower it from here, which to me is about right. So there we are. Let's see what our render looks like. We can see the sun in there. I'm going to change my sun settings here. Go over here. I'm going to change this to, oh, the camera. That was like the most important part of this whole thing. 38 millimeter is our focal length. That's where we would put that. That's looking good. Numbers F8. We're going to change that to 2.0. Okay. See, ISO film speed is 50 or 100. So basically, what I want to do is get my render to be close, my render exposure to be close to what my actual exposure is on the screen to kind of match that. The sun's still a little high. We're not actually going to use the sun. It's really just for lighting our particular shot. We've done that. We have our plane here. And we'll eventually adjust this plane to kind of have some terrain to it in a little bit here. Now that we've done that, we're going to go to our forest pack because we're ready to drop our forest in, or our flowers. Go to our iTool software, Forest Pack Pro. I'm going to select the California Wild Poppies Large. Load selection, and I'm going to select my plane. There we go. So now I need to adjust my forest settings in order to be able to get this all working properly. These large areas recommended camera dipping. All right, this happens all the time. Try this again. So, welcome to CG. Stuff crashes all the time. Hi Daya, today we're creating CGI poppies in V-Ray, or in 3ds Max V-Ray, and dropping them into our Photo Real image of our Porsche Taycan Turbo S. These were shot for, you can see some of them behind me there. These were shot for Car and Driver magazine. Try this again. Open recent. Try this, see if the recover one opens. Stop crashing again. All right. So I go to my render window, my materials. Stop the render. No, I haven't organized them yet. Just need to get that render window going again. Okay. Solve that problem. Perfect. We're back. Make sure you see the whole thing here. All right, we're good. Okay. And we need our materials window back. Make this all good. Isn't so plug and play, is it? Here we go. Perfect. We're up and running. Sorry for that brief intermission there, folks. All right, so forest pack. Just save this. This is a V2. That's why we have the versions. Normally I save these as their shoot number. So this shows up as nothing, right? So I've got to go in and I've got to adjust my settings. Our plane is showing up as green. So what I'm going to do is go to object properties. See if this works. Refresh our render window. I'm just going to create a blank material and assign that. See if that works. Oh, I know what I need to do here. We created this for. I need to redo the whole thing here. No, we're not done creating it yet. Go to my render settings here and completely render again. So if I go to try it and see if I do make it invisible, that changes anything. So I'm just going to play with this until I get this going with the particular force settings. So this is just part of the deal here. So what I'm going to do is, wait, you know what? I know what I did. If I go to my environment here, I need to plug my background image into my environment. There's my problem. Apparently that was not the problem. I'm going to draw a new plane here. Maybe that's the problem. My forest. Pack. Adjust my settings here. Let me do this under surface. So what I need to do is turn off that other plane. I'm going to go to my camera settings here, or the forest settings. We're going to go to surface area is good. We need to select our camera here. Should help us. Select our camera. Limit visibility. I usually go 8% here. And that allows me to see what this thing is seeing here in terms of relationship to the camera. With the back set off, we'll eventually do enable. There we go. So you can see it's literally restricting. So if I change this to all right, and the blender is is back to being off. And we're back. So what I'm doing here is I'm able to control the amount of fall off of the flowers in the background. I know right now we're looking at rows, which isn't what we want, but this is just to get the, so I have visibility is both at, what is this, 10, 100, 10 million? 10 million centimeters is the distance that this is basically going to. So I'm going to adjust that to make, I'm just going to cut out a 0 and see where that puts us. It falls off really fast, which isn't what I want. So I'm going to put my another 0 back in there. We're going to make this fall off at like 9 million. So when you're dealing in hundreds of thousands, it's not much. We'll go 750,000 centimeters. There we go. Now you're starting to see this kind of come to life here in our render. And what we're going to do is change up our exposure. That sun is almost the perfect height. Usually this never happens this way. Change up our exposure on our camera to get a, maybe, you know what, we'll brighten up the sun actually. I think that'll solve that problem. So we're going to go here to our intensity multiplier. We're going to make this a 2. We'll turn that up even more. Let's try 5. Let's try 10. I'm just going to bring, I just want to bring this over here and kind of see. So my camera is still a little dark. I'm going to change up my camera here. Camera. Quick save, even though I have auto save on here. I'm going to change my shutter speed to 150. So those are here. What we're doing is, this is we're shooting at ISO 100, f2.0 at 150th of a second. That's our exposure. We're close to what the actual shot is. I feel like we can get a little brighter. So I'm going to go change this to 100. Might be too much, but let's see where that puts us. There we go. Now we're warmer. I like where that's going. So for me, when I actually render this out, the poppies are going to be a little bit darker. Now, the coolest thing about this is that when we are rendering at this level, it's funny how I don't get featured when I'm using a different program than Adobe. Anyways, another story. When we render out from 3ds Max, you have the opportunity to do 32-bit. So you have so much control over the actual images and what's going to happen with them. It's kind of unreal. I'm looking for my drink here. The 32-bit is massive, so we'll take our 32-bit and we'll reduce it down to, I believe, 8-bit. And that just gives us tons of control. The reason that I do renders with both with the car and without is because, one, I get a clean version, and then 2, I get the sorry, 1 second. I get one that's mixed with the car, so I have an opportunity to kind of use both, and that lets me have more control. That's kind of the idea. So if I go back to, if I turn my forest off here and I look at my render, you can't tell as much, but there's fall off in the background. We're seeing softness in the back. This was probably shot at, let me go back to bridge here, f2.0. Shot it at 2.0, so I'm wide open. So this then gives us an opportunity to apply that to our shot. So I'm going to go to my camera settings over here, and I'm going to go to check depth of field. Now because we're at f2.0, right? Yeah, it should also cause this to fall off. Now we have to figure out where our camera target is. Our camera target is way up here, so this is going to change a little bit of what we're looking at in terms of our perspective. Now I also want to keep in mind the radius of where, or the area of where the car is in relationship to the camera, because I don't want the flower density to be as big as it is, like it is in the what do you call it? In the actual image. If I turn this off here real quick, you'll be able to notice the flowers by the vehicle are smaller than the ones in the background. So we're going to apply that effect here. So we've got this here. We're going to create a spline, which is, I liked the egg shape. So I'm going to go over here, go to my compound object, my splines here, and I'm going to go to the egg or ellipse. Torn here. You know what? An ellipse is going to represent our car more. Our car in a better shape. So we're going to just drop this ellipse in here. And I'm looking at... I didn't put it? No, because I held shift. Putting our ellipse in here. I'm looking at my viewport here to kind of see where it is in relationship to the vehicle, right? I'm going to click Z here. All right. On our left POV, here's the camera focus. Here's this line. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my forest objects. And I'm going to go to my properties. I'm going to click here. Crash. You have a lot of stuff open. We're clicking on our forest items right here. And we're going to go to our, I believe, the areas. Yes. And we're going to add our spline in there. There, go to our ellipse, click add. And what we're going to do is, we don't want to add more flowers to this. We want to exclude them. So if you look in the render window now, we have a little area back here that tells us exactly where our spline is in relationship to our vehicle. And we want the spline to represent our vehicle. But another cool thing about the spline that we can do is we can control the thickness, we can control density and scale fall off, which we're going to check. And I'm going to, this is pretty big, so I'm guessing that this area is probably about, well, what it'll tell me, select it. My width of this is what, 49,000 centimeters. So I'm going to want what, maybe a fall off of 5,000 centimeters. So I'll go back to my forest objects here, my properties, and we're going to add a 5,000 centimeter fall off. And the other cool thing about this is that even though we have the distance in here, so we'll have to go 5,000 on the outside and 1,000 on the inside. We'll do the same thing. Another zero there. And we'll do the same thing here with our scale fall off. 5,000 and then 1,000. Right. We've seen a difference yet? Not yet, because we got to get this spline to where our vehicle is in the shot. The vehicle is pretty close to the camera. I would say I was probably, say, 30 feet from the car if I'm shooting in this at 38 millimeters. It'll be slow because I still have my render window open, but I want to be able to see where this is going. Closer. I'm going to scale this down. cool thing is that with these flowers, I'm actually going to be able to cover up the dirt, the foreground dirt that I had there. The slideshow got a little jacked up, didn't it? There we go. Okay. All right. So I'm looking here, and I want to move this thing up. And the cool thing is that the perspective is going to start coming together now, because we'll be able to see whether we want our camera to come up or come down in relationship to where the vehicle is. So I'm going to adjust our spline. We'll make it smaller here. We got our spline pretty small now. I'm going to move it forward towards camera again. I feel like I'm so close to where I want it to be. And then we're going to play with that fall off. Now, what I'm going to do is, because our spline is here, and we're realizing that the edge of the car is basically in the middle of there, we're going to go to our camera target, and we're going to move this. And this is going to change our perspective here a tiny bit, which I'm all right with. Sorry, I'm trading options while we're doing this. I've been waiting for this dead cat bounce all day long. It's finally happening. What's everybody doing today? I'm tired. Tired every day, though. And we got a baby on the way. Woohoo! All right. Okay. So, right, the camera target. So we're going to bring this in a little more. Actually raise the perspective here a tiny bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in on my left POV. This is basically into the ground, and we're going to bring this up. And then it'll drop our background down a little bit. Go up a little bit more. Going. You can totally do this with Blender, by the way. You can absolutely do this with Blender. I don't know if Force Pro or Force Pack Pro has a plugin for Blender, but I do know that you can. Here's a little trick, and I hope I don't ruin this for everybody. But basically, if you sign up for, you could probably do this with Unreal. Unreal is also free. You can sign up for Unreal, and then use the Pixel Bridge, the Megascans library, and you can download those and then bring those objects into Blender, I believe. You should be able to do that. And then Vix is just gapped down completely. Sorry, I'm also trading at the same time. Apologize. So looking at this, it looks like I want the flowers to go further out than they actually are. So is that being affected by our POV or the length? It is. It's being affected by the length of our plane. So I'm going to, for now, turn this off and on. This is telling me that I want my camera to come up higher. I'll go to my camera here, click on Z. The guy I used to work with, by the way, who does CG, uses Unreal and refuses to go back to 3ds Max, so tells you where that's at. We're going here, bring my camera up a tiny bit, see how that affects, or if it's my target that I want to bring up. Yeah, because I'm basically, if I'm at the height of the headlight, like just above the wheel well, that's basically where I'm going to be. So I'm going to take my camera target. I raise that up a tiny bit. My render here. As the camera target comes up, I'm kind of thinking I probably want the camera to come slightly down a little bit more. But what we're going to do is we're going to go to our plane here. I'm going to extend this. I'm probably going to do an edit poly modifier. I'm going to click on the back edge and I'm going to drag that out. We'll grab these here, select, oops, my transform tool. So we're going to select these. I'm going to move here, just drag this all the way out. So this is now going to allow that camera fall off to come into play. The render. And I think what I'm going to do is, because of the slight elevation change on the, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to extrude these. You know, I wanted to do the whole, damn it. For a second, I'm going to turn off my force pack because I just want to see my perspective here. I'm going to click on this tool here. Fixing NVIDIA at 196. If it gets there. Sorry, guys. Mm. All right. So I'm going to take this and extrude it. 5,000. I didn't even select it. If I do, we'll extrude it again. All right. Now I'm looking at here at my camera, right? I'm gonna go Z here. So it's come up a little bit, which is what I kind of wanted. But we need to start extending this out a bit. So I'm gonna come back in here. This is what I did before. I'm gonna start scaling stuff using the soft selection tool. Go here, I'm gonna scale this out that way. Scale this out, scale this out. I really wish they had more CG for photographers because you can't even tell this is CG in the actual photos, which is the most exciting part about it for me. All right, so here we can see our, now I'm going to start, I'm going to go to the left side so I can see where I'm at. I'm going to start taking the actual front plane here. I'm going to bring it down like a tiny amount because I'm just trying to create elevation change at this point. I'm keeping an eye on here because I don't want it to get too crazy. I'm going to select the area behind the camera. And what I'm going to do is to get the high poppies by a camera, which is what I want. I'm going to bring it up. I want to go higher than camera, but I don't want to go too high. There. There we go. Now, we're going to exit our edit poly settings here. There, click out of it, and we're going to turn on our forest pack. Let's save this first. Turn on our forest pack so we can see what that looks like. We'll turn the plane off. There we go. All right, so we're getting to see a little bit of the fade better into the background. It's being funky because our sun is now just clipping the edge of the poppies in the background, and we want it to actually affect it. So we're going to check our sun out. Our sun is way back here, I think. Where'd it go, sun? There it is. It's actually in the poppies. So I'm going to bring it further. Oops. Take the sun further back, and I'm going to raise it up. This way we're hitting our poppies here. There we go. This will actually render darker, and it's just getting the top edges of those poppies, which is what we want. And here's another cool. So, all right, I'm just looking here. So the spline, if we're going to force pack here, I think I want to bring the sun intensity down now that it's higher. I'll try 5. I just kind of want to try and see if I can match. So notice, here's the other thing. There's a giant, this is where it gets fun. There's a giant stuff on the right side of the car is in shade. So we're going to go and we're going to add a solid object, sphere. We're going to find our spline. We're going to create a sphere right here. This is going to be our car shadow. And the coolest thing about CG is we can take the sphere that's here, scale it down to be the width of the car, almost there. Also help us know where. Let's scale it down height-wise. Well, on the height, because I kind of want it to be kind of ish by the car. Another thing I can, you know what, we'll probably do that for this demo too, is we can make this chrome in one of the renders, so that way we have the reflection of the vehicle in the actual, in an actual sphere. All right, now I'm going to rotate this like it's the probably scale this still and make it funky. I want to make it in the shape of the vehicle. Scale it up a little bit more. Watch this. I'm going to click on here. Go to my object properties. We're going to make this thing visible, but still cast a shadow. Boom. It's like the car's there, but it's not. Now, granted, it's intense, so we can now scale it to match what we're doing here. Yeah, things are finally ripping. Oh, shit. Sorry for the S word. I did not expect Tesla to fill that gap so quickly. I feel like I have to take profits on these. That was... we'll sell one. There. Impressive. Sorry guys, I'm just closing out some positions. I did not expect to man, they just left. Sorry, 1 second here. Sorry guys. Sorry for the delay. There's one thing I've learned in this market. You take profits when you take profits. If you don't take profits. Expires next week. We'll keep that. Sorry guys. Yeah, that'll be worth nothing. What else we got here? Alright, we're gonna let that curl. And with those 205s. We're good. Okay. Sorry. Closing out some stock options here. Wait all morning for that. Here we go. Updating on our render here. Move around too much. Oh, nope. Refresh that again. All right. I want to bring this down a little bit. I'm going to slide it over. Oh, too much. Super subtle, so we're going to zoom in. You see the sun affecting the front of the car. I'm going to keep moving this over. There. I actually think I'm going to lower the sun a bit. It's just so intense. Move this over again. I think I'm going to make it smaller, actually, on the height aspect. So much better. That's all I had to do there. Now, I think it comes up a little high in the back here, so we're going to take that down. So I'm going to turn the forest off. There's clearly no light in our foreground, which is fine. I'm going to go to our plane, full frame that, and then we're going to go back to our spline edit tool and actually edit that spline there. Or it's not a spline, it's a plane. Sorry about that. How's everybody doing today? Good? Excuse me. I think when we get to the Photoshop portion of this, we'll probably get more company here on I expected more of that. Okay. Our plane. So I'm going to go back here. Again, I want to see it in here, and I'm just going to start bringing this down. I can see it in there, so I'm going to select this entire back row here. And this should help our flowers get a little bit more sun. I'm going to take the one in the middle, and I'm actually going to raise that one up. Just get a little bit more slope out of this. There, and I'm going to take the back row, come back down again. And then, last but not least, the final back edge. There. Should help us out a bit with our perspective. I'm going to turn the plane off. Oh, got to exit our selection edit tool, edit polys, click out of that. Back to our, turn our plane off, turn our forest on. And how are we looking? I think that's better. Oh, you know what we can play with now is, you guys can't see this on the other screen. I'm going to bring this in here. We can add, so this is dark, right, by the edge here. If I raise the sun up, I kind of lose the whole effect. you know what, we're actually going to assign a material here. I'm just going to grab one of these. You know what, I have a, let's see here, tire black, tire rubber. Tire rubber. Basically, I'm looking for material for our sphere, so we're not. Yeah, that's not what I wanted. Basically, I want to apply a material to our. We go. Nope, tire tread. I want something black, blackout. Maybe. What I wanted. I want it to be black. Change the diffuse on this to. Take some of the glossiness out of there. There, flat black. Click on our sphere here. I'm going to assign this material to our selection. It'll be more shadow-esque. We had a blue ball there. Well, for lack of a better term. Ouch. I was sitting on my foot. Now it's killing me. Okay, so yeah, if we go here, we can add in what's called the aerial perspective, V-Ray aerial perspective. And this is actually the density of the environment reflecting back into our scene. Change this to be 10,000. Another thing I'm going to add on here is if I go into my render settings, I'm going to go to render elements, or add a denoiser, V-Ray denoiser, and change this to until perfect. So the settings that I use on mine are yeah, you have to turn this on to turn on your correction elements. Turn that off. You'll go back down to buckets, 2, 2, 2. There. I get super black in there. Perfect. This is the same size as our output, so that all matches. All right. Now we need to get this aerial perspective to work. I'm wondering if I'm gonna try something here. Add my sun. Why isn't this working? Just gonna add a quick sun in here to change their sky environment. There we go. All right, now we're getting that to work. I'm gonna delete that. We have our sun in there, and we're gonna go to make this 10,000. Basically, 10,000 is the distance that you're seeing. And then we'll add back in our V-Ray sky in there, but I'm going to add this into here. Okay. Wrong. This is supposed to be on max. There we go. Screen. Perfect. That was our issue. Change the coordinates. Screen. Right. Solve that problem. Now, figure out how to get this environment aerial perspective to work. Change this to 30,000. There we go. And we're going to change this to 10. There we go. Keep lighting it up. Maybe if we go, gonna get some sky color in there. Get a little blue. Too much blue. purplish color. I'm trying to bring some of this in there. You know what? Can we grab it? We can. No, it didn't do it. Okay. Here maybe. No, it doesn't want to do that. All right. So we'll go to a purplish color. Bluish purple. All right. Now we'll make this 60,000. I really just want to affect the back end. There we go. It's super intense still. The challenge is that it also gets darker in the back too. So if I turn this off, it's light back there, but it's also dark because the sun isn't on it. Maybe this is an opportunity to lower the sun then. Go to our sun. I want to move our sphere again. Zoom in on that. I feel like it wants to go this way. And get smaller. Oh, I can't go smaller this way. This is kind of be real. Granted, it's not, but it could be. I'm going to change this to being visible to us again. I just want to see it. I'm going to scale it up again. A little bit. Showing up in the render. Hello? Let's see where I'm at. Because I'm in that territory of stuff could go wrong. Alright, so now move this back a little bit more. We just reject 325. Looks like we did. Alright, well, I'll close that out. Righty. I'm going to try the scale on this a little bit more and see if I get just a little bit more fall off. You know what? I want the flowers lighter, so let's go to the sun here. Lower that a little bit more. It's more realistic. We'll change this. Change the color of this actually. Let's see if we get darker with it. Seems to look a little bit more real and kind of match our environment. Now, I'm going to go back to changing this object to being invisible because I think we're really close to getting a render out here. Oh, what's till next month? All right. Visible to camera. Okay. So that's gone. Feels looking good, but maybe we adjust fall off to the camera to not be so much. Is this ending at our plane here, or is this the camera visibility? It is ending at our plane. So maybe we'll make that a little bit further out. I'm going to take our plane, and I'm just going to scale it in the long dimension. I would normally never do this, but I'm trying to see how this works with this. Interesting. And I'll move this closer behind the camera, so we get a little further, more little distance out of there. The height that I wanted. Didn't like it. I like that better. So we'll turn our plane off. I'm going to take the spline that we have, move the spline back. Rotate our spline to be more the shape of our car. Rotating our spline here. Take this, move this out here. Back a tiny bit. I'm going to scale it up actually. Rotate it even more. You know what? I have this snap on. I'm going to scale this down, and then we'll adjust. Actually, no, I don't even need to scale it. But for the moment, we're going to take a break, and I'll be right back. And we are back. Yeah? Sorry, 1 second. Okay, now we're really back. All right. All right, here we are. Let's see here. Right. Under shadow, close to render. Well, that's beginning. I think I'm gonna change my camera target a little bit here. C, Z. Lower this thing down a tiny bit. Tiny bit more. I'm trying to get the horizon line to match up with the one in the shot. That's close. Oh, I see. Yeah, I was, I was moving it more than that. There we go. Should be too much, but let's see what that does. That's good. I think we're going to come back up a tiny bit and then actually come down with the camera height because I think we're close here. That should fix the problem. Camera here. All right. Camera target. Lower that. And there we go. We'll go a little bit more and bring my camera up. Camera. All right. I think I like where I'm at. I think that makes me pretty happy there. All right. We just need to fix our spline, our lips around the vehicle. Rotate that. Feel like I want it to be narrower, actually. And then we're going to scale it entirely. There we go. All right, and then I'm going to go to my forest settings, and we're going to why is it funky like that? Does this thing have anything to do with it? Here's there. I think it's probably just the fall off. I'm going to leave that off just so I can get my fall off correct here on my forest pack settings. Go here. Save. And I'm going to go here and I'm going to make this fall off. Make this 10,000, see what that does. How much bigger does that get? Pretty big-ish. I just want to include maybe more of this. We'll go 5,000 on this one. This is for the include in the middle. Shrink it down a tiny bit. All right. Make this 15,000 or 20. I feel like that's too much, so we'll try 18. And then when we get to the actual distribution, we get to actually have control over where these things are and what they look like. I think I'm going to kind of go back a little bit to where we were. 20. 20 gives us space. Now we're actually going to go to the arrangement. So we're on full. I'm going to go to streaks 1 and see what that looks like. All right, we're getting somewhere now. Now, and the other thing I can do is I can control the density here. So I'm going to make this. You know what? I'm just going to click on it. And you can actually watch it enlarge and shrink. I'm going to go back up again. And then I'm actually going to change this here. Change this to a different streak setting. Streaks 2. A little bit airier. I'm not really happy about it. 3. All right. Closer. If I change this density to 25. Sometimes if it's too much, it'll just shut the whole thing down. 5. And then I can go to, another thing I can do is here, I can go to the actual geometry of the object. I can control the frequency of it. So probability here is 50, 50. We're going to up this. We're going to go, let's go 85. There we go. We're going to change the other one to 85. See what that does there. All right. And then we'll change this one to 90. It was when it was 80, I think I liked it. All right, so now we just need to change the curve on the fall off, I think, and then we'll be good. I'm going to go to the item editor, right? No, distribution. We have clusters here. I'm going to change these. I like them. So we'll go to, I think it's transform, right? Nope. So actually it is. So transform controls the height. I want to change this to 105 because they're really high in front of the camera. Let's see if there. So that brings them down just a tiny bit. And then we're going to go to our curve. Distribution. No. Surfaces. Oh, it's got to be areas then. There we go. I'm going to edit the curve on the density here. We convert these both to Bezier corners. What I can do is then make this less or more. So that was more. So I want to do less. We're going to make this arc up. Almost perfect. Make this come up a little tiny bit. Pretty good. Maybe less slope on here. So this is controlling the arc we see here of the flowers, and I think I want to smooth it out just a little bit more. Yeah, I kind of liked where it was here. This made me happy. So this is just for the density fall off. Now we're going to do the scale fall off. Hit the curve on that one. Convert that. I'm going to bring this down. I think I want to do more like that. Too much. Bring that back in. I feel like we're almost there. How's everybody doing today? I think at this point, all we can really do is play with the scale of our ellipse. I liked half of that. Just scale up the whole thing. And scale it back this way. More flowers up front. That's almost too intense. Do that. To me, that looks real-esque, but the issue, I'm going to go back further. Look, I've taken this too far. All right. So I think we just play with the particular. It's too even, right? So I'm going to go back over to my distribution, right? And we'll just start playing with this. That'll change the arrangement. And we'll go change the positioning. Maybe streaks 2. We'll go streaks 1. We'll start all over again here. Better. Go with streaks 2. Streaks 3. Let's see what patches look like here. 2 patches will be more or less what we're looking And patch 1. It's closer to being more realistic to me. Patch 3. Let's see what patch 4 looks like. I go through all these. I'm like in 2. You don't want a hole. I certainly don't want that. That looks pretty realistic, actually, if I think about it. And we have certain issues that arise with the particular. I'm primarily looking at these areas here. I think what we'll do is we'll turn our sphere back on. Just gonna cast our shadow. That kind of solves some of that problem. Perspective's never going to be absolutely perfect, but I like the way that that looks. I think I'll save that, and I think that's what we're going to render. You know what? I can play with this right here. Change my, get a little denser, maybe. Bring those in. Bring them in again. I'm starting to get some weird holes. I'm just going to check, let's see, we got 7. I'm going to check 2, where I was kind of happy at. Yeah, I mean, eventually I have to make a decision, so I'm gonna go with 2. I'm gonna save that, let that render, and we'll go back and we'll make adjustments to. Hopefully this will be quick. Let's see where I can get this at. We don't need full craziness here. 2, 2, 2. I'm gonna do 1. There we go. Make it quick. All right, so that's gonna render. I'll go here to Photoshop. We have our image now. There's some things on here. That renders. And basically, there's some stuff on here that I wanted to fix. So there's 2 ways we're going to do that. We're going to do render with the car, and then we're going to do render without. That way we have control over both. So this is really interesting here on this image, in that you have what I think is an example of, I don't know, proof that if you don't spend the money on good quality products, you pay for it later, right? The challenge here is that I have this polarizer. I have a listed. Oh, close my brushes palette. Put that in there so we don't lose it. All right. Cool. So if you can see right here, see this blotchiness? This isn't in the actual vehicle. This is from using a polarizer that just. So the problem with, or the challenge, I guess I would say, there's a challenge with using the 28 to 70, the R5 Canon 28 to 70, is that you end up with a Um, you end up getting, how would you call this? Weird anomalies in the glass, but you're using a 95 millimeter polarizer, which is absolutely massive. So, you know what, guys? For this, I'm actually going to start a separate stream, so that way we have. I'm going to let these render, and then I'm going to come back and we'll get into the Photoshop aspect of this.